been bringing these in for days. So here's basically my version of the shader ball in Redshift. So I'll show you guys how to more or less reproduce this. So again, I'm just going to like hit up my hypershade, and I'm going to just delete this. Why have I put this where I have? All right. So get rid of this. So instead of a mix node in Redshift, you want to look for a material blender or blend materials. I'm just going to type in blend, and you can see the last one down is the Redshift material blender. That's the one you're looking for. So in this case, I'm just going to grab this and drag it onto my object. It's not going to show up as anything because, again, nothing's in it. But there's a few like immediate differences between this and the Arnold one. So for one, I kind of prefer this one, kind of a lot. But you have you can put up to like 7 different materials in here. So you don't need to have a giant unholy chain of mix nodes. You can just put things into the shader. It's a little bit more like linear, I guess, like Photoshop layers. But you have a base color. So in this case, I'm just going to say gold. And then you have, I'm going to say car paint over top of that. So basically, the base material is, what is this thing made out of underneath all of the rust and grime and crap on it? So in this case, I'm going to say the metal. And then I have this car paint here, and by default, it sets all of the blends to 0. So if I start upping this value, you can see it's actually going to blend in that car paint. But by default, it's turned off completely. So I'm just going to say I want to add, a mix node to this, or I'm sorry, a curvature node, to start chipping away some of the paint on the edges of this. So it happens to be called, instead of the AI curvature, just type in curvature, and you're looking for a Redshift curvature this time. Mercifully, they have named it the same thing. So I'm just going to grab the out color of that. So you'll notice when I grab out color, it grays out all of the blend colors. But I just want to map this in. So you'll notice there's like blend color 1 under the car paint. I'm just going to throw it into there. But I have to do it into either the RG or B value. Again, it really doesn't matter which. But you can see that it is causing this to, show blue in the outside. In this case, it doesn't really matter. I could just, reverse my shader for some reason and like put the car paint underneath. For some reason, it makes me personally happier to just have stuff in the quote-unquote proper realistic order. But again, it really doesn't matter. So in this case, if I wanted to control this a little bit better, there's still settings in the curvature node. Like if you go under remap, I can play with min and max here, get some different effects there, play with bias a bit. Again, sort of like different random effects you can do. But I'm just going to go in and throw in a ramp, just like a standard texture ramp that I've been using for every weird thing under the sun. And this acts pretty much like if you've ever opened the levels thing in Photoshop, you've seen that little bar at the bottom. It's basically doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to throw out color onto the V chord. I could put it on U chord, it honestly doesn't matter. It just needs to correspond whatever type is here for U ramp or V ramp. If you put it on U, you just need to set this to U ramp. So I usually put it on V because it saves me clicking 3 extra buttons. And then out color, I'm just going to select out color R and throw that onto blend color R. So now what this allows me to do is I can fiddle with these values a little bit, and I don't know why I put that there. But I can play with these and basically tweak how you'll notice if I do this, the curvature becomes a lot more pronounced. And then, so this is like the silly hack if you don't want to switch your colors around. Just set the white to be black and the black to be white. And it's going to reverse your colors and basically chip out the colors here. And I did this last class too. So you'll notice, so this is what the render looks like. This is my car paint material. This is my car paint material. Oh, come on. You're just being salty with me. So it doesn't really look anything like the renders, and I was like, why is this? Oh my god, I was freaking out, what's happening? So again, this blue looks nothing like my car paint. If I go in here and I look at the blend color, for some reason it's actually not displaying properly, but basically what happened here is I only hooked out the out color for red, whereas blend color is actually looking for 3 values. There's R, G, and B value. So I'm just going to grab the whole out color and put that into the whole blend color, and that is going to fix my issue. Does this make sense? Cool. And again, my ramp looks like crap, so I'm just going to be like, hey, better scratches. So that's pretty much that. If I wanted to get a little bit of noise in here, instead of having to like make another node and blend it in all crazy, you can actually just make your noise texture. And again, it does have to be not an AI noise. Oh, Redshift has their own noise. I've never played with this. I'm not going to start right now. It doesn't really matter which one you use. I don't care. I don't judge based off noise textures. Not my jam. So I'm going to repeat this just like 15 times in a somewhat arbitrary fashion, because I just wanted a little finer. And then I'm going to grab the out color and throw that into contrast value. And by out color, I mean out color R. And you can see that that is pretty much gone through and just very easily added in a bunch of noise into that texture. And then at that point, you can go back and play with like the amplitude or, you know, all this other stuff to really control how that actually looks. But in my opinion, this is super easier than trying to deal with this in the Arnolds. And again, so these, if I wanted, say I wanted like gold scratches on this, in this case, I'm just going to kind of cheat a little bit and say I want scratches on top of my paint, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense logic-wise, but Redshift doesn't have a multiply node, so there's no easy way to combine the maps for that. So I'm just going to grab my gold again, throw this on top of this, and then I want to add in just a scratch, like my default gross scratch texture I've been using for everything. So I'll map my file into that, find my scratch texture. And once again, it is the wrong, pulling the wrong stuff forward. So I'm just going to go down to effects and do invert. If I was so inclined, I could also like hook that up to a ramp and swap it that way, but there is an invert button literally right here, so I'm going to click it. Yeah, I'm always a fan of saving mouse clicks. Anyway, and then I'll repeat this texture like 3 times, again, just to make the scratches a little bit less ridiculous. But you can see now this is like kind of maybe aggressively scratchy, but like scratchy in Redshift. So questions on this so far? Cool. If you wanted to add in, say, rust on the bottom, so Arnold has their own, I'm just going to throw in a little rust dude down here. So Arnold has their own ambient occlusion node. I was fiddling with it, and I was like, wow, this is like the most awkward thing I've ever played with. I just found it like really hard to control, even with a ramp shader. And I was just like, what if I don't deal with this? So I'm going to grab out color and throw this onto blend color. I guess I want 3. Sorry, that was the weirdest noise ever. All right, so I threw that onto, where did I put that? That's actually great. Oh, layer. Oh, whoops! I put that into my layer color. No wonder that looked wrong. All right, well that was interesting. So I'm going to grab this curvature node and throw it onto my blend color. And you can see, so when I did that, it's like, I don't know how you want to map this in, so it just pulled up this little window here. Basically, I just need to select out, and then it's going to let me add that into, I think I want blend color 3. And you can see that that has mapped in all of these things. So you'll notice actually when I map out into 3R, or into the R value, it's done this weird thing where it's turned everything kind of purpley. If I map it into all of my textures, it's going to do something more similar to what I actually expect. So just mapped it into all my textures. And then you'll notice it might be a little bit hard to tell, but right now it's mapping it in pretty much over top of the edge chips that I've added in. previously. So if I go back to my curvature node and set convex to be concave, you can see, and again, it's like crazy subtle, but like right in here, there's some little like rusty, gross bits in there. If I wanted better control of that, I could again just go and add in a ramp shader, or sorry, ramp texture. I'm going to throw out color into my V chord, and this time I can actually just grab, why is this not expanding all the way? All right, well that's super obnoxious. Oh, I see. And then I can just grab my whole out color and throw that onto my blend color. It's going to grab the RGB values and map them into the RGB values, like one would expect. And I have broken things? What have I done? Interesting. What did I do? What? The power of the undo button. That's super weird. Blend color. Alright. Not really sure why that worked. Apparently it broke it when I plugged it in manually. Oh! No! Okay, that's so weird. Okay, I actually thought that would unmap. Alright, so the issue, what happened, so I have the out color going through the V chord, and then the out color of the ramp going into blend color 3. I also have the out color of this curvature still mapped directly into the RG and B values. So it's mapping everything like 3 times. So don't do that. So just unplugged all that, now it should be not exploding my stuff. And now I can go through if I want to and add, maybe, yeah, so like I can push that value and I get a little bit more rust in the little crevicey areas. And I can push that, you know, however kind of makes sense and however I like it for my mesh. This makes sense? Cool-ish. All right, and then again, if I wanted to like put a noise texture on that, I'm just gonna grab this noise and throw that into contrast value for my shader. So this is like, again, Hypershade is nice because like I can just take this noise texture and like throw it into everything, and I don't necessarily need to go in and you know, duplicate the same noise or like remake a million noise textures. I can just reconnect everything together and kind of reuse stuff. It's a little faster. But yeah, so that's pretty much Rust and Dust, or Rust and Scratches in Redshift. Again, I do find this to be a little bit easier than dealing with Arnold. Just like, I haven't figured out how to do Dust in Redshift yet, because they don't have their, I need to figure out, I'm sure they have a utility node, I just need to figure out what the equivalent is. It's not named utility. But it is kind of nice that you can just add stuff linearly, because if I expand this, it's like this is so much more straightforward than my other one. It still kind of looks gross, but everything's just like expanded. But so it just depends on your preference what you want to use. You can also make more material blenders and like blend material blenders into other blenders if you need like crazy depth. It just, again, I think depends on the engine you like working with and how you like rendering stuff. So are there any questions on this? Cool. So that is pretty much procedural texturing for the day. Gotta run